Republican presidential frontrunner Donald Trump signs a pledge to endorse the eventual nominee and forego a third-party run. Why now? And does it change this Republican race? This is Special Report. Good evening. Welcome to Washington. I'm Bret Baier. Republican Party leaders are breathing a tentative sigh of relief tonight after getting Donald Trump's assurance that he will not run against the eventual nominee should it be someone other than him. The signing of that loyalty pledge, Trump's announcement of that, and the news conference that followed became a big afternoon TV event and another opportunity for the frontrunner to tout how far in front he really is. Chief Political Correspondent Carl Cameron has tonight's top story.
Donald Trump signed the Republican National Committee loyalty pledge to not run as an independent or third-party candidate and back whoever wins the GOP nomination.
I will be totally pledging my allegiance to the Republican Party and the conservative principles for which it stands.
Raise your hand now if you won't make that pledge tonight.
Only Trump declined taking such a pledge during the Fox debate last month. Before today's announcement, Trump met with Republican National Committee Chairman Reince Priebus. Trump denied any deal in exchange for his pledge, and he said he, quote, had no intention of changing his mind.
I'm not controlled by lobbyists. I'm not controlled by anybody. I'm controlled by the people of the country in order to make our country great again. I see no circumstances under which I would tear up that pledge.
A feistier Jeb Bush at a New Hampshire town hall this morning was already throwing elbows.
And there's one candidate in the Republican Party that is preying on people's angst and fears. Donald Trump's view is that the end is near. His pessimistic view is let's close the borders, all based on negativity.
Bush came out swinging first thing this morning after Trump complained last night about his speaking Spanish on the trail.
I think Donald Trump is trying to insult his way to the presidency, and it's not going to work. He wants to tear us down. He doesn't believe in tolerance. He doesn't believe in the things that have created the greatness of this country. It's hurtful for a lot of people, and Mr. Trump knows this.
Trump doubled down this afternoon.
We're a nation that speaks English, and I think while we're in this nation, we should be speaking English, and that's how assimilation takes, and that's how, I mean, whether people like it or not, that's how we assimilate.
Bush got an earful about illegal immigration from a voter.
We're pissed off. Right now there's an air of appeasement.
Bush dubbed Trump's plan to build a wall and have Mexico pay for it, quote, ludicrous, and trashed Trump's plan to deport the 11 million immigrants here illegally now.
Rounding people up, dividing families up, creating real chaos. It would cost hundreds of billions of dollars to round people up and ship them off.
The latest National Monmouth poll shows that Donald Trump has crested 30%. Ben Carson's the only other candidate in double digits, and Jeb Bush has been dropped into the single digits with the rest of the pack, and there are still months of political campaign battles ahead. Brett?
Carl Cameron in New Hampshire. Carl, thank you. Apparently taking one for Team Clinton has its limits. A former aide to Hillary Clinton is taking the fifth rather than testify about Clinton's so-called homebrew email server. Meanwhile, one of Clinton's most trusted confidants has spent several hours in a closed-door deposition on Capitol Hill today. Chief White House correspondent Ed Henry is covering the Clinton campaign tonight.
The stakes were just raised big time in Hillary Clinton's email controversy as a former aide who set up her server has decided to plead the fifth to avoid subpoenas compelling him to testify to 3 different congressional committees, including the special House panel investigating Benghazi.
I know in the past why people have invoked their Fifth Amendment privilege, but you'll have to ask him what he did. And you're free to glean whatever inference you want from the fact that he did.
Former aide Brian Pagliano worked on Clinton's 2008 campaign, then became an IT specialist at the State Department in 2009, and helped set up the server at the New York home of the Secretary and former President Bill Clinton. An aide to Senate Judiciary Chairman Charles Grassley, who was also seeking his testimony, told Fox, quote, Mr. Pagliano's legal counsel told the committee Tuesday that he would plead the fifth to any and all questions if he were compelled to testify. The Clinton camp insisted today they wanted Pagliano to talk and cited the cooperation of other former aides like Cheryl Mills, who today went behind closed doors to testify before the Benghazi panel.
That's a good day.
Clearly not really such a great day in Clinton world, though her staff tried to keep a stiff upper lip. Spokesman Nick Merrill declaring, quote, she has made every effort to answer questions and be as helpful as possible and has encouraged her aides, current and former, to do the same, including Brian Pagliano. The top Democrat on the Benghazi panel, Elijah Cummings, rushed to Clinton's defense by claiming Pagliano was only taking the fifth because he did not want to be drawn into a political spectacle, though even he admitted it would have been better for Pagliano to talk.
Am I surprised that he has decided to take the fifth? No, I'm not surprised. Am I disappointed? Yes, because I would have loved to have heard what he had to say.
And Republicans note it's harder for Clinton allies to cry politics when there's also a nonpartisan FBI investigation looming.
This is the one guy that could put all of this to bed, and him pleading the fifth speak volumes.
Yeah. Clinton aide said today she's eager to testify in public to the Benghazi panel in late October, though that also means this story may have legs as we edge closer and closer to those early caucuses and primaries. Brett?
Ed, thank you. A Russian ship comes what might be a little too close for comfort to a major American military installation, while China impresses and surprises during a muscle flexing in Beijing. National Security Correspondent Jennifer Griffin is keeping track of all of it from the Pentagon tonight.
A 70-gun salute in Tiananmen Square to mark the end of the war with Japan, a show of strength ahead of President Xi's visit to the White House later this month as China demonstrates its military prowess 70 years after the end of World War II. 12,000 Chinese soldiers marched through Beijing today. Also on display, a cruise missile known as a carrier killer capable of destroying an aircraft carrier at sea, and China's J-31 fighter jet, a near replica of the U.S. F-35, the most expensive weapons program in Pentagon history. The Chinese version, some say, engineered with stolen U.S. technology. Then a surprising announcement by the Chinese president, an admission that the Chinese economy, like the U.S., requires defense budget cuts.
I announced that China will cut its number of troops by 300,000.
Russian President Vladimir Putin watched from the stands. Russia and China recently finished rare joint naval exercises in the Sea of Japan.
Their navies have been working together now for a couple of years. We got to remember, going back to 2013 and the crisis in the Syrian civil war, Chinese and Russian vessels sortied together in the eastern Mediterranean as a warning to the United States and NATO.
Meanwhile, off the coast of the U.S. state of Georgia, a Russian spy ship capable of cutting cables and tapping into other underwater sensors passed within 300 miles of the U.S. ballistic missile submarine base at Kings Bay, home to the U.S. Navy's Ohio-class fleet, whose boomers are capable of firing multiple warheads that can strike up to 240 cities at once.
Furthermore, those 5 Chinese warships that were seen in the Bering Sea while President Obama was visiting Alaska, they have since reversed course, we're told by Pentagon officials. Brett?
And Jen, what about these new attacks by ISIS using chemical weapons?
Well, Brett, new evidence tonight that ISIS has launched more attacks using mustard agents. In response, the Pentagon has ordered its 3,500 troops in Iraq to dust off their chemical suits and refamiliarize themselves with their protective equipment. ISIS has fired more shells at Kurds, causing painful blisters, and a rocket near the Mosul Dam, which left a mysterious yellow cloud in the air. Brett?
Okay, we'll follow it. Jennifer Griffin at the Pentagon. Jen, thanks. Up next, a county clerk from Kentucky is ordered to jail over her refusal to grant same-sex marriage licenses. First, here's what some of our Fox affiliates around the country are covering tonight. Fox 8 in High Point, North Carolina, with a fatal crash of a Marine Corps helicopter. It happened last night at Camp Lejeune. 1 Marine was killed, 11 injured. Fox 25 in Boston, as police in Millis say an officer's story yesterday about being fired on before he crashed his cruiser was fabricated. They say the 27-year-old part-time officer fired the shots into his own vehicle. He will be terminated from that force. And this is a live look at Chicago from our affiliate Fox 32. The big story there tonight, that manhunt continues for 3 suspected cop killers. A woman who called police claimed to have seen 2 of the men. Well, she was arrested after admitting she made the whole thing up. She said she wanted attention from a family for whom she works as a nanny. That's tonight's live look outside the Beltway from Special Report. We'll be right back.